In this lesson, we'll be learning how to set up a website in Adobe Dreamweaver. I've got a folder open right now which is sitting on my desktop called site_root. It is the root folder containing all of my website content. And you can see here I have 2 HTML pages, and I've got an images folder with a few images in there, and a CSS folder for when I want to apply CSS files. I would save them in that folder. Now I want to establish this site root folder as my website inside of Adobe Dreamweaver. So I'm going to switch over to Dreamweaver right now. And I do have it open on the start page. This happens to be the 2019 version. It may look a little different in other versions, but basically the concept is exactly the same. So I'm just set up here on standard workspace, and standard workspace. There we go. And what we have here is a files folder, which is where we do manage our websites. So there's a couple of ways to establish the new website. I think I'm going to use the pull-down menu at the top. I can do it through this menu as well, going down here to manage sites, I believe. But let's just go up to Site, New Site, and you can see that I can also access Manage Sites, where ultimately I could press the New Site button. But let's just go New Site. And it calls up a dialog box. There's a few things in here, but right now you just need to concern yourself with the Site panel. And you don't need to worry about servers nor the rest at this stage. What we need to do is 2 things. One is give it a name that's significant to us. It will appear in a list. And the second, and probably the more important one, is actually to attach the folder as the root. So we'll start with the new name. I'll just call this Site Setup. Maybe I'll put a 2020 on there, and then go over to my browse button here and go down to my desktop over here and select the folder called site_root. I click choose and click save, and the site is actually established now as a site inside of Adobe Dreamweaver. It will be saved on the sites list if you go to manage sites anytime you relaunch Adobe Dreamweaver. So what you have here in the files folder is the top icon here is your root folder icon, and then all the contents are cascading below. You can close and open these as well, and you can see here my 2 HTML files as well as my image folder, which I can expand and collapse, and I can see the different elements inside of there, and I see another empty folder up here. So let's open up index.html, double click it, and right now I'm looking at it in code view. I do prefer split view. So I'll click on split at the top here. And you can see I have set it up left and right. In another lesson we can learn how to customize that. It might default on the bottom for you. Nonetheless, in split view you can see the code as well as the content in the preview side. Now up here as well we have design mode and live mode. That's again, we'll get into those modes in a different lesson. I can put on live, and live is actually an in-app preview similar to what you would see in the browser. So it's more realistic when you're looking at it in live mode here. But editing features are different between the 2 modes. And again, that's something we will approach in another lesson. I am going to switch back to design right now. And that's really it for establishing a site. But let me show you some power features that have to do with reworking your website structure, if you will. Right now, if I was to go out to the folder and change something like move the index file inside of CSS folder by dragging it like that, I've essentially changed its location, and the pathways that may be on that page will get broken. Let's go back to Dreamweaver right now. And again, if I go to this page and launch it, preview in, let's just say, Firefox, you can see that my images are broken because I actually moved the file from its original location. So in order to fix that, I would actually have to go to my code view, to these images, and using the properties panel, I could conceivably change their locations, or just change where they are. Like it's in CSS, so I could change it up here. Now let me undo that. I'm actually going to go out to my desktop again and put it back where it was, which will fix it all. If I put it back where it was, the pathways are consistent now to the original pathways. If I open this up in the browser, my pictures and other potential things that were placed on the page will have assumed their proper pathways, and they will exhibit on the page. Okay? So let's go back to Dreamweaver again, and I'm just going to update this by hitting the little update refresh button here. I saw it did automatically update as well. So if I want to do such a change, because can you imagine if you have a 1,000-page website and you want to make a change like that, manually you would have to change the links on every page. But Dreamweaver inside of the Files panel gives you tremendous power actually to make these changes, and what will happen is they will update automatically. So let's drag that file into the CSS folder like that, and here is the Update Files dialog box. Do you want to update? And it will give you a list of all links to this file. I will say update, and lo and behold, if I launch this file now, just go launch it over here in Firefox, the pathways have been changed and the files will look proper. And that is the power feature inside of Dreamweaver that you can use inside of your Files panel for making, I guess I'll call them radical directory changes. So I'm going to change it back to where it was by dragging it up to the top folder. Click update once again, and there we go. Everything's good. All my links are updated. 1 to infinity will be updated when you do the changes inside of the Files folder and click the update button. Now that's our first lesson on how to set up a site, and a little quick power lesson on how to manage sites within Dreamweaver. It's highly recommended that you always make these directory structure changes within Dreamweaver and then update your files that way. And that's the end of this lesson.